I think we're all living in a time when we are collectively very familiar with grief. We know when we're feeling it. There isn't much that helps, but I do find at times like this that poetry can speak to the unspeakable. Marge Piercy is a Jewish communist feminist activist and poet who's been one of my favorite poets since I was 8 years old, and my mom first read me her poem Barbie Doll. Even at that age, I knew that there was a certain unspoken rage that came with existing as a girl in society. And that poem gave voice to it. And Marge Piercy's been a huge comfort to me all my life because she's angry too. So I'm going to read a poem from one of her earlier collections, The Moon is Always Female. Uh, just so you know, the language in this poem is not as gender inclusive as I would like. If you'd like a more intersectional approach, the comics poetry anthology Embodied is a great one to pick up. I also, of course, highly recommend Gwendolyn Brooks's poetry on the subject. Right to Life. A woman is not a pear tree, thrusting her fruit in mindless fecundity into the world. Even pear trees bear heavily one year and rest and grow the next. An orchard gone wild drops few warm rotting fruit in the grass, but the trees stretch, high and wiry, gifting the birds 40 feet up among inch-long thorns, broken atavistically from the smooth wood. A woman is not a basket you place your buns in to keep them warm, not a brood hen you can slip duck eggs under, not the purse holding the coins of your descendants till you spend them in wars, not a bank where your genes gather interest in interesting mutations in the tainted rain any more than you are. You plant corn and you harvest it to eat or sell. You put the lamb in the pasture to fatten and haul it in to the butcher for chops. You slice the mountain in two for a road and gouge the high plains for coal, and the waters run muddy for miles and years. Fish die, but you do not call them yours unless you wished to eat them. Now you legislate mineral rights in a woman. You lay claim to her pastures for grazing, fields for growing babies like iceberg lettuce. You value children so dearly that none ever go hungry. None weep with no one to tend them. When mothers work, none lack fresh fruit. None chew lead or cough to death, and your orphanages are empty. Every noon, the best restaurants serve poor children steaks. At this moment at 9 o'clock, a partera is performing a tabletop abortion on an unwed mother in Texas who can't get Medicaid any longer. In 5 days she will die of tetanus, and her little daughter will cry and be taken away. Next door a husband and wife are sticking pins in the son they did not want. They will explain for hours how wicked he is, how he wants discipline. We are all born of woman. In the rose of the womb we suckled our mother's blood, and every baby born has a right to love like a seedling to the sun. Every baby born unloved, unwanted, is a bill that will come due in 20 years with interest, an anger that must find a target, a pain that will beget pain. A decade downstream a child screams, a woman falls, a synagogue is torched, a firing squad is summoned, a button is pushed and the world burns. I will choose what enters me, what becomes flesh of my flesh. Without choice, no politics, no ethics lives. I am not your cornfield, not your uranium mine, not your calf for fattening, not your cow for milking. You may not use me as your factory. Priests and legislators do not hold shares in my womb or my mind. This is my body. If I give it to you, I want it back. My life is a non-negotiable demand. I'll see you on the streets.